wonderful electronic invention I want you to see. It looks something like this.
Thank you for letting me know I have no mic. I'm going to get this right, I promise. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Disenthrall. I am Patrick Smith. Yesterday, I did a live stream rant about the police in Houston, Texas that made entry into a house on a narcotics investigation, murdered everyone in the building, including the dog, and are now cry-bullying everyone that doesn't think they're heroes for doing it and for, you know, getting shot and some of them killed in the process. In yesterday's video, which I'm not going to rehash, I said that I would not make any more content on this topic unless I had gotten something horribly wrong and needed to correct it, or unless there was some major update or change to the story that was especially important. Oh yeah, the first thing they did, Emmanuel, was kill the dog. As usual. There's been an update to the story. No, I was not wrong on anything I said. Yesterday I said that, and honestly, I expected the updates that I received today on the story. I expected to hear that, as it turns out, the people killed in this narcotics raid were members of some Mexican drug cartel. You know, they've got a rap sheet a mile long. They've killed people. They've, you know, human trafficked, whatever. That's what I expected to hear today. That's the opposite of what I actually heard today. And so I wanted to make a quick video to show you. I hate this story. Here we go. Okay. Let me get out of the way.
The KHOU 11 Investigates team has been digging into the couple's past. Investigative reporter Cheryl Mercedes joins us now.
So, Cheryl, we got to know, what kind of people are we talking about here?
Well, Len, Mia, these are not suspects with long rap sheets. Dennis and Regina Tuttle managed to go unnoticed by police until yesterday. Their story is one that rocked their neighborhood.
They managed to go unnoticed by the police until yesterday. That's a funny way of saying they were just normal people that don't have a criminal record. They went unnoticed by the police.
By police until yesterday. And Regina Tuttle managed to go unnoticed by police until yesterday. Their story is one that rocked their neighborhood and has left even their own relatives confused. A chaotic scene in a neighborhood that everyone here says is typically quiet. Law enforcement quickly filled the streets after a search warrant at the home of Dennis and Regina Tuttle took a turn for the worse. Dennis Tuttle's sister, Elizabeth Ferrari, drove in this morning from Dallas.
I don't know anything. I have not even seen the news. I heard this by a telephone call.
The couple lived at the home on Harding Street for at least 20 years. Harris County clerk records show the couple listed the address on their marriage license in 1998. KHOU 11 Investigates took a closer look at that address and learned police were called to the home once in the last 6 months, on January 8th, to search for a suspicious person with a weapon. Houston police tell us the officer found no evidence of a crime. We dug into both of the suspects' backgrounds and found Regina had a court date 10 years ago for writing a bad check. She covered it with a $145 fee and the charge was dismissed. Dennis has no criminal charges. His sister told reporters her brother was a good guy who served in the military.
Former Navy, released on medical, honorable discharge medical, and has had debilitating injuries for many years.
Ferrari says she had no idea that Dennis and Regina could be involved with her.
It was a normal couple. The worst thing on the criminal record was a bounce check. And they broke down their door, shot their dog, got into a firefight, murdered them, and got themselves murdered. I'm smiling not because I find this situation funny. It is absolutely not funny. It is not amusing. It is just amazingly, disgustingly predictable. So let me just quickly read through the story. She went for his shotgun is the headline. That's the headline. They lead it with a headline making it sound like with the cop's excuse. Right, here we go. Who were Dennis Tuttle, 59, and Regina Nicholas, 58? Houston police have identified the suspects killed in Monday's shootout that wounded multiple officers as Dennis Tuttle and Regina. Let's see. As Dennis Tuttle. Oh, wounded multiple officers as Dennis Tuttle and Regina Nichols, 58. Harris County Clerk. Records show the married couple lived at the home where the shootout occurred for 20 years. Definitely not like a drug house or a drug shack. Tuttle is listed as the home's owner. No subterfuge. This is tragic. Anytime I laugh, translate that into just disgusting tragedy of a situation. And I'm not going to draw this out. I just want to get through this. KHOU 11 investigative team dug into both of their backgrounds and found that he was in court 10 years ago over theft by check, bounce check, which is a misdemeanor. Paid it, case closed. They had a recent service call in the last 6 months, which was a search for a suspicious person with a weapon. That call was cleared after the officer found no evidence of a crime. Turtle's sister drove in from Dallas, blah, blah, blah. The dude was in the Navy. She loved him. Here we go. HPD Chief Acevedo gave an updated timeline of what happened when a team of officers went to serve a search warrant. And I'm not going to get into that again. Watch last video for an in-depth discussion of the horseshit language used in this situation. At the couple's home, southeast Houston, shortly before 5 p.m. Monday. He said the narcotics officers, a group of 15, arrived at the home on Harding Street. Upon making entry, they immediately came under fire. The first officer through the door, armed with a shotgun, was charged immediately by a very large pit bull, says Acevedo. The officer discharged rounds, and we know the dog was struck and killed. At the same time, a male suspect identified as Tuttle came from the back of the home and opened fire with a .357 Magnum revolver. That officer was struck in the shoulder. He went down, fell on the sofa in the living room, at which time a female suspect went towards that officer, reached over the officer, and started making a move for his shotgun. That's when backup officers also made entry and opened fire, killing the female suspect. An exchange of gunfire continued with the male suspect. Other officers laid down cover fire, and they all heroically pulled their fellow officers out of harm's way. And then we all know what happened between Life Flight EMS Houston. We use the word heroes all the time, but the doctors and nurses at this institution, the firefighters, everyone that was involved, they're all just heroes. We're all very blessed, said Acevedo. Again, thank you. The exchange of gunfire was not captured on video, as Acevedo said officers don't wear body cameras when making entry while serving a warrant. Where to even begin? So, a group of 15 heavily armored people bust into a house, shoot the dog that of course runs at them, and the people defend themselves by shooting at the intruder. This has happened multiple times in Texas. Cops do what's called a no-knock raid. Now, granted, they didn't say there was a no-knock raid, but it sure seems like it. Just says they made entry and was charged by a dog and shot at. I have a suspicion this was a no-knock raid. They bust in the door. If somebody busts in my door, I'm going to be shooting back. Now now we're in a shootout where I'm killing heroes? Is that how this works? Is that justice? So apparently, armed only with a .357 revolver, he wounded 5 officers, killed a couple, and put a couple more in grave condition in the hospital. I mean, that's pretty good shooting. I'm just saying. Acavado, Alan? It is this name right here. I'm just terrible with pronouncing these names. Acevedo. Acevedo. I don't know how you say it. Officer was struck in the shoulder. Female. Now this is the only suspicious part of the story. At which time a female suspect went towards that officer, reached over the officer, and started making a move for a shotgun. This sounds suspiciously like cops bust into house, dog charges them, they shoot the dog. Guy hears somebody busting into his house and shooting his dog, shoots back at them. Cops behind the initial entry maker hear and or see their first officer get shot, and then they see a woman and just start shooting. And then this sounds like what their PR director said to, make the narrative sound like. Who's gonna make a move for a cop's shotgun? This sounds absurd. It doesn't sound real. Joseph Duncan, bullshit. 1 .357 revolver shooting 4 police. Exactly. Either he's a sniper with that thing, reloaded a bunch, or something's fishy here. Backup officers go in and murder everyone. And then the ambulance are heroes. A couple of the cops are still in the hospital. So, we now know that, remember yesterday in the conversation when I said, okay, look, if these guys end up being dirtbag murderers, then I don't really care if they got killed. Well, guess what? They're not dirtbag murderers. They're homeowners that live in Houston, live there 20 years. And because a neighbor called the police, the entire home and family is dead. It's a dead end. They don't exist in history anymore. They're gone. Family line, unless they had kids, erased. And the cops are heroes. The cops are not heroes. Okay. Let me back up. The only way the cops are heroes... No, that doesn't even work. I was going to say, if the cops were automatons, if they had no agency, no free thought, no control over their own hands and feet and bodies and trigger fingers, if they were just like robots, if they were just automatons, and a neighbor called them and told them things that made them go to that house and do these things, then they aren't responsible for their actions. The neighbor would actually be the murderer in this situation for calling them, because they're just doing as they're programmed. Unfortunately, cops are not robots. They're human beings with sentient minds that are responsible for their behavior. They are responsible for their actions. They own their actions. They can choose to say no, disobey orders, quit their job, go home to their families at any time, to not pull the trigger, to not break into somebody's house over a victimless crime for vegetation or heroin, black tar heroin. They have control over their lives and their actions. So they are the first square in the chain, link in the chain of culpability. The first link in the chain, the most responsible for what happens in that situation. Not the last, not the least, and certainly not heroes. Now, if they had gotten a call, it was like, hey, we've got like this guy, he's a known murderer. I'm calling you guys. I'm reporting you his location. I found out he's been in this house. You might want to go catch this murderer before he continues murdering. Then they kick in the door and it's still a rough situation. Murder everyone involved. No, that doesn't make sense. You can't just break into a house and murder everyone, including the dog. Anyway, I'm trying to make excuses to show the opposite side of the situation that would work. It's really difficult to do, though. Was there heroin there or not? I believe there was, though this article did not mention any drugs at all. Emmanuel says, this makes me want to start keeping an AR next to the bed instead of my Glock. Yeah, what if this guy was a little better armed? I wonder. I wonder if it... Well, no, 1v15, he's not going to make it. I made most of the points on victimless crimes yesterday, so I'm not going to rehash those. I'm just going to point out that they act like automatons. They act like they are not responsible for their actions. They say they're just following orders. They say they're just doing their jobs. As if that somehow removes and disconnects their brain and their agency from their hands and their bodies and their trigger fingers. And most people believe that horse shit. The fact that these people are not aware of basic ethics. You can't hurt someone that's not hurting others, persons, or property. It's like basic kindergarten stuff. Don't hurt people, don't take their stuff. If someone's not hurting people and not taking their stuff, then you can't hurt them, and you can't take their stuff and shoot their dog and murder them. It's like kindergarten 101. We have this general expectation of everyone around us. They understand at least that much of ethics and morality. Well, these guys think that the law supersedes that. The law overrides, rewrites, and reverses that simple logic. They think if it's in the magic politician scribbles, that they can literally use any amount of force they deem necessary to keep themselves safe while making sure that you behave according to that law. And so that creates great evil, like today. And as this story continues to develop, I'm sure we're just going to find out more and more details of probably how normal these people were, and probably how it was a no-knock raid gone bad that cost heroes their lives. And when they talk about the lives lost and the people mourning, they rarely talk about, you know, the actual victims in this situation, the people that had just lived in their home for 20 years. So I'm not going to belabor this point anymore. Leonid Mirtsky says, mentally, those cops are robots and worse. Some of them are even psychopaths who look forward to shooting their guns at people. That is absolutely true. When you have a position of power in the world, almost definitionally, sociopaths and psychopaths are going to seek out that power so that they can, you know, have everyone's respect, and everyone will think that the power that they've always wanted secretly and malevolently, they get justly. Certainly. Same with most government positions with any level of power, actually. I'm sure they would just have planted drugs. That's another entirely plausible thing. The drugs could have been planted when they found that they actually just banged in somebody's house and murdered everyone and didn't find anything. That's totally a possibility. The other thing that's interesting here is they talked about, like, within the last 6 months, they had another call about a suspicious person with a weapon in that house. So it sounds to me like they have a neighbor that they don't like or that they don't get along with, and that isn't afraid to cause them trouble by calling the cops. So it's an interesting thought experiment to just think about what kind of culpability that lady, or I assume lady, I shouldn't assume lady, that neighbor has in this situation for initiating it by calling the police to rat out someone else for literally a non-crime, a non-victim laden crime. Not okay. Not okay at all. This isn't about morality. Morality is a personal thing that varies from person to person, culture to culture. I would absolutely hardline disagree with you there, sir. There is a simple form of morality based on simple, objective, universalizable rules, going back to the non-aggression principle, the kindergarten rule of you can't hurt people and take their stuff as long as they're peaceful. You have no right to. You take that simple kindergarten rule and you universalize it to everyone in every place, everywhere, and you have the basis for an objective, non-opinion-based ethical system. So check out the rest of the stuff on the channel for more information on that. That's most cops. They are sociopaths. Having a weapon makes you suspicious now. Yeah, that's true. And you know, the red flag laws are coming up, and they may try and ride the back of this story to get more red flag laws passed in Texas. Hopefully there's enough gun nuts here to push back on that. So, Attack Helicopter says, terrorists are the heroes these days. In this situation, it's hard to read this story any other way than, yeah, calling the cops the terrorists in this situation. They invaded the private home of peaceful people over non-violent crimes, non-crimes, victimless crimes, and more on that in the last video, and killed them all. You're talking about natural law. That's not the same thing as morality. This is a discussion that Leonid said that. This is a discussion that needs to kind of be two-way. This is probably a very inefficient way to introduce you to objective, universalizable ethics. But I would say natural law could be said to be built on the things that I'm saying. So I'm talking at a lower level about base ethics that can be derived from first philosophical principles. Join the Discord server. There's a bunch of people there that can have good conversations on that. There should be a link in the descriptions of most of our videos to the Discord server. Jamie Wynack says, we just got some new information on what the cops did yesterday in Houston, where they were serving. I love how they frame these discussions about what happened. They were serving an arrest warrant. Sorry, they were serving a search warrant for narcotics on this home and just murdered everyone. And in the process, they got into a shootout. And I think like 2 cops died and 2 are in the hospital, something like that. And we just found out today that the people that they murdered weren't, you know, full-on insane criminals. So I just kind of went over the story, talked about the people that just seemed to be normal, everyday, you know, homeowners. They lived there for 20 years, and I think they had a pissed-off neighbor that just had a penchant for calling the cops and reporting them. And in this situation, that got him killed. That's why I just don't call the cops, unless it's some serious thing that requires some. Unless I want the person to get killed, I don't call the cops. That's kind of my rule of thumb. Unless what the person has done to me is bad enough that they need to be, you know, to have force used on them up to and including the point of murder, I just try not to call the cops. I can usually handle my problems without murder. Let's see. Starts off with trespass on their property and the stealing of the life of their dog. And that's a good point. Step 1 was trespass. Step 2, breaking and entering. Step 3, murder dog. You know, yeah. You need a new Discord link. The one in the description is dead. Thank you. I will update this video with that very soon. All right, guys, I'm going to call it there. Thanks for tuning into our live stream. I had another video lined up for you. I had an amazing interview today with 2 really cool experts on nonviolent communication, and I was rendering that video when I saw this story, and so I just had to do this live stream on it. And I think Kaysen might have another live stream coming up right after this with some interaction with the Discord server. So I will make sure as soon as I hit stop on this, I'll post a link to the Discord in the description. You can join the Discord server and be around for the live stream that Kaysen's about to start. Something about Stump an Anarchist or something like that. Should be interesting. And the nonviolent communication video will be dropping soon. I will make a new link with a non-expired date, sir. Thank you. All right, guys. Take it easy. Thanks for watching.